say previous week of learning by Isaac and Edenova in memory of his father, Elias. Is the 8th. There are no individual days of learning. And Hashem is having a liak, make a feel healthy to share Hashem on Twitter, company, trail, make a bench. Yeah. Okay. Steve, welcome. 8 lines up. Thank you very much. So today, just like yesterday, we're going to explore a bunch the borderline uh, in English we don't have two words between lending and between the simple rule of lending and the rules that govern such as lending an object where we don't have interest and lending money where we do have interest. So they had an interesting case like this. We had a case. Rob told Tzvika, I'm Rob. He told Tzvika this. Agro Pagra, you're allowed to rent out a boat and say, listen, I'm going to take so much and so much money for the, per day for the boat. And if the boat breaks, you're going to pay me. Now, why is that? Usually when you're going to pay me. Now, the renter is not obligated for accidental breakage. Let's say the boat breaks. It's not his problem. Okay, or the boat's in use. You understand? So the fact that there's wear and tear, that's part of what he pays. That's what he pays for. That's what he pays for. He rents it. So he's allowed to rent it and still say, but if the boat breaks, I'm going to pay for it. You think, wait a second. If you're ready, you're going to have to pay for it. The fact that you guarantee the loss makes it sound like what? That you're really borrowing the boats. If you're borrowing the boat, how can you pay rent? It looks like it's interest. The answer is no, it's okay. It's okay to pay rent and still to be obligated for the boat breaking. Amrulay Rav Kahana Rav Amila Rav. So the rabbi said to Rav, he said, one second, it doesn't make any sense. E agra lo pagra. If you're going to pay rent, you cannot pay damages because we pay damages, it means you're borrowing, and the rent is interest. E pagra. If you're paying the damage, when it breaks, lo agra, then you can't pay rent, okay? Because otherwise it's going to come out as interest. Okay, Shasik Rab, and Rab was quiet, he had no answer. So the Gemara was surprised. I'm Rav Sheshes. My time is Shasik Rab. Why was Rab quiet? Tanya, didn't he learn what we learned later in the Brisa? The Brisa taught us that the exact case is permissible. Even what's Tzom Barzil? Tzom Barzil is a word, is a metaphor. What's iron? When I take something to you and I turn it, even though it's a commodity, I turn it into money that I guarantee. What's an iron sheep? In other words, let's say you gave me literally a sheep. I say that's not a sheep, that's $100. And now from this day forward, whether the sheep goes up to 150, goes down to 20, I have to return you $100. So I've essentially translated the commodity into what? Into money. So Tzom Barzil is a word where what? Where the commodity ceases to be a commodity when I guarantee it no matter what. So if it goes up or down, I have to give back the same money that we evaluated at. So we have a rule we're going to learn, and we're going to learn in the next page. But this is a vice. We're going to learn in the next page in Mishnah. I'm not allowed to do a heter iska. I'm not allowed to do an iska with Tzom Barzil. What does it mean? What's the usual deal? You have the investor, and the 50 investment, 50, let's say 50% loan. Okay, so each guy's partner half the gains and half the losses. But what if the guy doesn't take any losses? If he doesn't take any losses, we say, buddy, if your investment is guaranteed to return, that's not an investment, that's a loan. And that's a loan, and the profit you're getting is interest. Understand? So we say what? So Tzom Barzil, anytime I turn the investment into iron sheep, and I say, listen, I don't care if it goes up or goes down, you're going to get your money back. Okay, so then you haven't deposited with the guy, you've lent it to him, and you're paying interest. So even though we learn Emakabin Tzom Barzil Israel, you're not allowed to do a Tzom Barzil Iska with a Jew. You can't say, listen, I'll loan you, and half I'm going to invest with you, but I have a guaranteed return. I'll take the loss. I'm sorry, buddy, that's not an investment. That's a loan. But you're allowed to make a Tzom Barzil deal with a guy. Okay, now you're allowed to do it. Like we said, why is that? Because I'm allowed to because the guy, I'm allowed to pay a guy interest. There's no problem. So I can make a 50-50 deal with the guy and be completely responsible for the loss, and the guy's not responsible. The guy doesn't take any loss because he's allowed to get. I'm allowed to pay him interest. Okay, but he said, let's say a guy evaluates, A guy gives a guy a cow. He says, "Look at that cow's $100." And he says to him, "All right, he says what? And he says what? He says this cow is 30 dinar. Pardon me. He says, listen, this cow's worth 30 dinar. So what? I'm going to give it back to you 30 dinar. But in addition, I'm not going to guarantee if I don't give you the cow, I'll either give you the cow or give you 30 dinar. I value it in money, guaranteed. And I'm still going to pay you one cell a month to rent it. So you see what? So the same thing. He's renting it and guaranteeing it. Mutter, why is that? He says the law says. He said clearly. He says I'm turning it to 30. I'm turning it to 30. I'm turning it to 30. To 30 dinars. He did. You have to read it. So you have to read it like this. And here's the proof. Since he never said what in a lifetime it's money. In other words, he always has the right to give back the cow, even if the cow went up or went down. So he doesn't guarantee the say what I don't care about the inflation. He can return the cow even if what if the price is down and he can give it back. Only he guaranteed the cow in death, but since he guaranteed the cow in life, that's not considered a loan, and he's there for what? And he's allowed to. No, you have a boat. You can take rent and you can pay the loss as long as pay for the up and to guarantee the price in the lifetime. Okay, but Nagu Benekufa and the pitch people, who is that? The boatmen who tar their boats. They smear their boats. Okay, that's their minog. Agro the shashmashim. They would take the rent at the time the guy took the boat, which is early because really you're supposed to pay rent after you get the yeah really supposed to, you still got to pay. Yeah, you don't have to pay. Yeah. So here they did the other way. Paid the rent right away and pagra, and if it broke, when it broke, they would pay the original price the way Rashi learned from the time that it broke. I said, what's it? What's it? Very strange. What I said, what do you mean? You just quoted me a Bryce that told me that's halacha. Now you told me the minute. I had to be I'm going to tell you this. What do you mean? It's a custom. It's not based on custom. That's not halacha. I said, you're right. We should have Masnisa Tanya. And since we learned in a Bryce, you're allowed to do it in Haga, that became the custom. Other people have other more complicated ways to do this. Rabban Amar Shmuel, Moshe Yisomim. Now, what do you, the money of orphans? Orphans, Yisomim, the simple word Yosom is referring to minors. Even though we could call everybody a Yosom who lost a parent, Lo Aleinu, but here we're talking about minor orphans who have to be looked after by the community. He said, Moshe Yisomim, Mutter, okay, you're allowed to take the money, the overseers, like the money of orphans, and lend them out interest. Okay, you're allowed to. Okay, you're allowed to lend them out for interest. So that's a very strange. Would be very surprised. How can you do it? Okay, even with Mr. Raisa, easy. Because since the kids are minors, they're not obligated to interest, and the guy who's lending it, the overseer, is not getting the money. It's not, he's not the lender. There's no problem. Ironically, it's a workaround. They could even lend out for ribis no risa. Why? Because the lender, so to speak, the overseer is not taking any interest, and the kids are minors. And basically, that's to stop the kids. Okay, and since the kids, and I basically has to stop even minors from transgressing. When do you have to stop minors from transgressing? When they themselves are, and we don't give it to them. Pardon me. Let me just say correctly. Let's double check myself. 1 second. Uh, Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, since the minors are not actively doing it, but it's coming to them based on enough effect, the kids will be doing this for themselves. Basically, have to stop them, but they don't have to. So therefore, what they're allowed to do. Okay. So they said, Amarle, who do the name Ukta. So Rabbanan said to him, I have a problem. You're going to tell me what? Uh, oh, I'm sorry. I you're allowed to let it out. Yeah, Amarle Rav Nachman. Okay, Mishum Diasmi Ninu Svila I said because they're minors, we're going to give them something forbidden. Even so, even if it's not by the letter of law forbidden, how do you give children things that come from something that's apparently also? You ask me any orphans that eat what doesn't belong to them, this illegal interest, they should follow the one that left that abandoned them, the one that left them. They should die like their father. It's not right. Amalei says, Angel easy. He says, listen, what you thought you heard, okay, what you heard the name of Shmuel, it's a mistake. I'm sure Shmuel never said what you said. Imalei Iu, tell me, my dear friend. Izo, my dear friend. Tell me, my dear friend, my beloved. Tell me, my dear friend. Just think what actually happened. You didn't hear Shmuel. Tell me what actually happened with Shmuel. You must have derived what you said, and he didn't say it. Tell me what actually happened. What really took place. Amalei, so Ravana said, you're right. Here's what happened. Who do the Bnei Barukva? The children of Maruk were orphans. They had a copper pot, okay, and that copper pot, the heavy Bay Marshmallow, and that was the house of Shmuel was the overseer. He had a copper pot that belonged to the minor orphan. Talk over Yoivle. So when he would rent it out, and he would weigh it when he gave it to the renter. Talk over Shokole, and he would rent it when he took it back. Okay, Shokolaga Shokol Pasta, and he would collect from the renter. He would collect also the rent. He would also collect the devaluation of the pot. And Rabbanan said to himself, listen, let me analyze what Shmuel did. I understand. It doesn't make sense. If he's going to take rent, he shouldn't be able to charge for what? For the devaluation, because that's going to be interest. Okay? Because a borrower of an object doesn't pay devaluation. If he's going to collect devaluation, it's a loan. Okay? He's collecting interest, and he gave it completely. If you pay for the devaluation, it went completely into the hand of the borrower or the renter. And if he's going to pay for the devaluation, then he shouldn't be able to. Which means what? He's really borrowing the thing monetarily. That he shouldn't have to pay. He shouldn't be allowed to pay rent. And therefore, he concludes what? It must be that since it belongs to orphans, you're allowed to take interest. So Nachman said to him, you're making a mistake. Either over there is not permitting interest to minors. But that even if the orphans were grown men and no need for leniency. What? But one reason to say what's a dakam? It's a beer. Grown men. Even by people reach majority who are forbidden to take interest, you're allowed to do that. Okay, why? Because you make a mistake. Because over there, since the people would accept to pay, the original owners, they would pay for the valuation in the copper itself. What is it? The copper, the mix with the choshev and tzir domain. Because every time you cook with a pot, the value of the copper itself goes down. Okay, and that they didn't pay to the renter. The renter knows the owner responsibility. So since the owner took some responsibility, so therefore, you see what? It's not a loan. It's still a deposit. As long as the depositor has responsibility, we call that a deposit and not a loan, and therefore they were allowed to do it. Okay, so therefore don't say therefore you're wrong in assuming that Shmuel said that you can take interest from minors. In that case, it was the case where even majority people grow up. No, but I'm going to reiterate the point. I didn't spell everything out, but reiterate the point like this. As long as a depositor remains responsible for his deposit, that's called a deposit or an investment and not a loan. Once the depositor has no responsibility, then he is given the object to the recipient. It's fungible. It's turned into money, and any extra improvement he's getting for the loan, and not an interest on the deposit. That's the deal. I'm Rabbi Shila, I'm Rabbi Tisla. Rabbi Yosef, something like this. Moshe Yisomim, he said, money that belongs to minors, orphans, mutter lahalvosan, this you can do. As we debated before whether you can do out and out interest, one thing you can definitely do, you can let them do an iska where they are guaranteed a return. They're guaranteed their original investment is going to return. They'll get profit, they won't get loss. Okay, and even though we don't allow that, but he can do it. And you have to do it because that's essentially rabbinic. That's rabbinic interest. Right? If I invest, what I make you do is I'm going to give you 100. I say 50 is a loan and 50 is an investment. I'm going to share the profit, but you know what? I'm not going to share in the loss. I get my 50 back no matter what. It's the profit I get 50. So we don't do it because we say if my 50 is guaranteed, so I really lend 50, and I'm getting interest on a loan. It's not a deposit. But here, the truth is, it's not exactly true that it's interest from the Torah loan. Because since I may never get any profit, remember we talked about there's no guarantee with good profit. There's no guarantee. There's only rabbinic. I'm saying there's no guarantee. If I put in 50, I say, listen, if my 50 goes, you have to still give me the 50. Then if you make profit, I get profit. So then the 50 is a loan. You're right. And if I get profit, I'm getting interest on my loan. But the truth is, there may not be any interest. There may not be any profit. So since it's like when I lend you money and I say I give you 4 and I want back 5, I'm definitely getting back 5. That's interest. But over here, where I say here it's 50, if there's interest, if there's a profit I'm gonna get, maybe there's no profit. So since there's no guaranteed profit, there's no guaranteed interest. That's not considered. Uh, um, Torah interest, and therefore for children, for minor orphans, I can let them do an iska where their investment is guaranteed. We're allowed to do it. That we're allowed to do. Why? Because it's rabbinic. Okay, Tanur Rabbanan, we learn now. I'm going to read this. This is a very controversial segment. Yeah, I'm going to read it one way. There's other ways to read it. many others. Tanur Rabbanan, we learn. If a person makes an iska where he takes the greatest amount of profit and no loss, okay, that's a Russia. He's a Russia. He transgressed, even though we said an iska deal is only rabbinic interest, he's a Russia because he transgresses the rules of the rabbis. He says, listen, I'm investing, I'm giving you 150 for you, 50 for me, and I get half profit, and I don't get half the loss. From the Torah, that's permitted, but from the rabbis, it's not. And he's a Russia for doing it. That's considered rabbinic interest. Karma has to say the other way, where he's going to take the loss, he's going to take all the loss, and he's going to he's going to divide the profit. Chassid is a very saintly person. Okay, he turned because he turned the whole thing into a deposit. It's not a loan, and it's fine. Because he takes all the loss. Karv Lizel is that if he makes any number from half and half onward, if he makes it that he's as likely to get profit as he is to get loss. For example, he takes a third profit, a third loss. Whatever you're going to do, you understand that, or whatever number it's saying, okay, or Rachel Mizem is that. No, he takes likely loss, likely profit. Means what? He takes 1/3 profit and 1/3 loss. Okay, or it takes takes 3/4 loss and 3/4 profit. Let's say that's fine. Or or far from the other way, takes 1/3 profit, 1/3 loss. All that's okay as long as it's commensurate. That's every normal person you can do. Half, third, whatever it is. No, whether it's more likely to get profit and more likely to get the loss, or less likely to get profit, less likely to get the loss. Even Stephen, it's okay. That's one way to read it. I'm going to read it. He says, hey, let's say you're in charge of money abroad. You're an overseer. He says, how do you do it? How do you help them that they don't lose their estate? Well, they said to him, I said, we put the money in the basement. We we allocate to them as needed. $1 at a time. We give the money they need to do it. He said, well, how come when the Kayakani, see, not helping the kids that way? Why? Because you're gonna exhaust the principle of their inheritance. If you take all the money the father left them and you dole it out dollar for dollar, you're not helping the kids. The kids need to have a way to keep the money going. He said to him, how do you do it? How do you oversee kids' money? They don't have that. Said to him, Keenan Gavin is the whole point. You want to get somebody who can guarantee the money. So you find most people don't keep hunks of. There's 2 points. You get a guy with a bunch of money. He has hunks of gold. He has pieces of gold with no marking in it. Like just gold hunks. What's the point? Because anything has a marking. Any person can claim, well, that money, even though it was in your house, it's not yours, it's mine, and I deposited with you. So we're going to take something that cannot be identified by another person. So you get a guy who's rich, who has possessions that can't be identified by anybody else. They're very simple, just hunks of gold. Hunks of gold, you understand, that have no markings on them. You find a guy, he says, Lakina Gabra the Islay Dahava people. You find a guy we just have hunks of gold, okay, this torn up, and Latina Davile, and we take that as a deposit that unassailable, nobody else can claim it. And then we give him their money, okay, and we do it, we invest the orphans' money with him in a deal, and we make it that they get half, let's say they half the profit, but they get no losses. So the rich man guarantees them profit, guarantees their investment, no, and no loss. No, that's no losses, and they get half the profit. If the business loses, they still get their investment back, and if they make profit, they get half of it. That's how we do it. So the point is what we're going to invest the kids' money in a very good investment, so they'll make money. Okay, I will double Masuya, but you don't guarantee. So you take his gold, put it into the hands of a third party, so everything's guaranteed, and then you make a business deal that's tilted in their favor. I will double Masuya, but you can't use for that collateral, so to speak, that you're going to put in a third party. Okay, you cannot use something that's identifiable. Why? Okay, no, that you don't. Why? Because of the why? Because otherwise, maybe the guy's money is not his own money. It's really a deposit that somebody gave him. The Atimar and the owner of that deposit will come. The HC money will come and give an identifying mark for Shuckle and he'll take it. So we want this whole thing backed up 20 times. We want the rich man to be able to. We want him to. We give him the kid's money against a collateral that he really can guarantee the kid's money. So he deposited the kid's money with him as an investment that's ironclad. They can't lose their principal, and they can get interest. And he's wealthy enough to guarantee the repayment. Oh my God, look how beautiful Jews are. Look how beautiful Jews are. That's what you do with kids. You don't say, "My poor kids." The community gets together and makes sure the kids are going to be okay. That's us. There was a guy. I can't remember his name. There was a guy in Los Angeles. I remember he was a Sonic. He was in concentration camp in Auschwitz. His story is incredible. And he got out. He was in it when he was a kid. He got out. He was like 17, and the guy became a very successful businessman. He helped everybody all the time. And when he was an old man, I remember there was a 5-year-old boy in Los Angeles, and nobody took the kid. Nobody took the kid. He went around begging everybody to take the kid, not his kid. The kid was left an orphan, and he adopted the kid. He was an old man. He was an old man. He said, "No, you're not doing it." I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. And this kid's not going to to welfare. He's an old man. That guy was a mamish outside. That's how Jews have to be. You can't do it, man. He said he begged people. Nobody, they didn't take it. He said, "Okay, I'm not doing that." He took the kid. Oh, I mean, you know what? It's an old man taking a little kid. It's ridiculous. Imagine an old man taking a little kid. Jews are beautiful. That's the Jewish people. It's not happening. They take responsibilities. Here, we're going to take this. We take the kids and we invest. We copper their, so to speak. We armor their inheritance. Yeah, and guarantee make sure they're going to be okay. They got to grow up. Um, I'm Rav Ashi. Okay, very nice idea. But Rabbi says, Tina, that's very nice if you can find a guy with unidentifiable gold that has a, so to speak, a guarantee. But if you can't find a guy with gold shards, so then what are you going to do? So then we're stuck again. You're just going to allocate the money little by little, and their estate's going to disappear. Well, Rav Ashi says, Chazinim Gabra, the Meshafin, the Meshafin that's so you find somebody that's in a very tranquil state. This person is in possession of his possessions. He's not fighting with anybody. Nobody's making claims. We find somebody that's a very established person. Nobody's making claims against them. Umehayman is a person that we find is trustworthy. Rishon Dina Deraisa is a person who listens to the rules of the Torah. Loma Kabashat Terabon, the person who's never been excommunicated by the God. They all say so. He's a good person. We give the guy the money in based in. Again, it's a 50-50 deal where he guarantees he takes all the loss and they get half the profit. And even though he may not have that kind of money, but his own character and stature is enough for us to rely on him to guarantee the kids' money. Okay, now this is a very interesting thing. Remember, we said before. Let me explain it outside, then it'll make sense inside. Otherwise, it's hard to read. We said that whenever you guarantee a person's investment, it turns into a loan. What am I to say? You say what happens when you deposit something? What you deposit remains yours. It remains yours. You're subject to loss. You're subject to the second I guarantee, I armor your deposit. It's really a loan. What happens? It ceases to be yours because look, I see whether that goes up or down. It's going to be 100. Well, obviously, I've taken it. I've turned it into money. It's become mine because I owe you the 100 no matter what. I've turned your deposit into my own money. That becomes a loan. That's the point. So tzon barza. When I say, listen, you're giving me a sheep, but that sheep may turn into 150, it's 100, may turn to 150, may turn to 10. No matter what, I'm giving you 100. That's not a sheep anymore. I took $100 from you and I owe 100. That's all. That's a loan. That's not a deposit. That's the rule. So the second you do that, what's the problem? So every time you armor your investment, you're essentially lending it to the person you gave it to, and it's subject to what? It's subject to the laws of interest. That's the whole trick of it. So take a look.
How do you allow that with silver? You have some bonds over in the silver.
Because he's not paying her interest. That's why. Because he guaranteed it.
Whatever.
Yeah. She brings in some buyers. He says, look, that's $100. Okay, you deposit $100 with me. If I die or I divorce, I'm going to give you $100. That's it. She gave. That's what he said. You gave me $100. That's exactly the point. And now that sheep is mine. The sheep doesn't exist. Yes, you gave me $100. He's not paying her. He's not paying. He gave me $100, and I guarantee $100. He took 100, and he's paying 100. Even if the sheep turned to 150, he took 100. He's paying 100. Simply, that's what I think it is. Simply. Okay. Good point. Okay, now. Yes. You guarantee it. It can't disappear. I turn the sheep into a tank. That's an iron. It's an iron sheep. A normal sheep can go up to 100 sheep can go up to 150. And she can go down to 10. I say no. That's iron. Give me a sheep. You know what? I'm right. Right now it's 100. It's 100 forever. Ironclad deal. Exactly. Right. Huh? No. Okay. Okay. A Makabli and some Barzel, okay, some Barzel Misrael. So you can't, we said you cannot make an Iska deal, a 50-50 deal, where it's not 50 on the loss, you can't do it with the Jew. You can't take the Jew's deposit and guarantee he's going to get back. If the Jew's investment is guaranteed, he can't get half the profit. Why? Because that's called paying interest. You armored his deposit, you turned it into a loan, and when you give him his profit, you're paying interest on the loan that he made you. Okay, if they that's why you can't take with the Jew because that's interest. But you can make that deal with a guy. Why is that? Because a lot of pay interest to a guy. That's why. So I can make a 50-50 deal with the guy where I guarantee is 50 and still paying profit because I'm allowed to pay interest to a guy. Okay, no problem. And now and not only is it not a problem of ribbits, it's not a problem of lo sechane. I'm not allowed to give gifts to Jews for no reason. That's also not a problem. But love him, and in general, I'm allowed to borrow from a guy and pay interest, and I'm allowed to lend a guy and take interest. Also the ger toshav, even a person who's a ger toshav accepts the 7 mitzvahs and can live in Eretz Yisrael, and he won't do Avodah Zarah and eats the velos, he's still not called my brother. And the whole prohibition of interest is with your brother, he's not my brother. Further, what we learn, this is later a complicated case. A Jew can lend the guy's money midas obed kochavim with the guy's permission. Not with the Jew's permission. We'll explain the whole thing later. It's 2 cases. We'll see. Okay, but here's the main point. If you told me that tzon barza is forbidden, again, I won't explain it. I'm sorry to beat a dead horse. Why is tzon barza forbidden in an iska? Because instead, when you invested 50 with me and I paid you interest, it was an investment. It remained yours. Okay, it remained yours. The 50 you loaned me, but 50 was yours. When I paid you 50% of the profit, I was paying on on the 50 deposit that was always in your possession. You didn't lend me that 50. So the 50% profit I paid for your 50, I'm paying on something that I never borrowed. But if I guarantee your 50, I've turned your 50, I've translated from a deposit into a loan. When I give you the 50% profit, I'm paying you interest on the 50 that you lent me. Because you can't tell me that's a deposit if I have to guarantee its return. If it's a deposit, if you lost it, you lost it. If I have to guarantee the loss, that's not a deposit, that's a loan. So now watch. So the whole assumption is what? That the word tzom barzel, when you guarantee a deposit as an iron sheet, whatever it is, you guarantee it, that we say by definition it left the ownership of what? Of the depositor and entered the ownership of whom? Of the depositee, of the working guy. Now I'm going to show you, we have a rule that's the opposite. Let's just figure it out. This is an interesting point. Let's say we're going to learn. You know that there's a rule that a firstborn animal of a Jewish animal has to be given to the Kohen who sacrifices it. Okay, but we have a rule that has to be by Yisrael, by a Jew. So the firstborn of Goyim it doesn't become sanctified as a firstborn. New, what should happen then? Let's say it outside. It'll be easy. Here, what should happen if I made a 50-50 deal? An iska, a normal iska with a Goy, but I made it tzon barzel. That's tzon barzel. So tzon barzel, you told me what? You just told me tzon barzel, even though normally the guy's 50% was really what was a deposit, but you told me the second I guaranteed it, it translated from what? From a deposit into a loan. So I own it. Now the working guy owns it. 1 second. If a Jew made its own barzel deal with a goy, according to what we just said, who owns the tzon barzel now? The Jew. The Jew. Now we're going to learn in 1 minute that when a Jew made its own barzel deal with a goy, all the sheep that are born, not only the sheep that's born from the sheep that the goy put in, even the sheep that's born from the sheep that the goy put in is exempt. Why? Because the goy owns it. Yeah, it's a goy owned, but a goy owns it. Now 1 second. Didn't you just tell me 1 second? You just told me what? That every tzon barzel was what? A loan, and who owns it? The working guy, the Jew. Now I'm showing you what? If I tell you that all the bachars that are born, okay, all the firstborns are exempt, you tell me what? That even though it was tzon barzel, it remained in the hands of who? The guy. We just contradicted our Mishnah. That's the whole trick. I'm about to read it inside. You told me you told me why am I forbidden to do tzon barzel with a Jew? But because he lent it to me, because if I guarantee his sheep, then it's really a loan. When I pay him profit, I'm paying him interest. So you tell me tzon barzel leaves what? Leaves the ownership of the depositor and goes into the ownership of the depositee. Well, if that were true, if I made a tzon barzel deal with a guy, does it make sense that every sheep that's born firstborn is not a firstborn because the guy owns it? What do you mean? You just told me tzon barzel entered the ownership of who? Of the depositee. If I'm the Jew and I'm the depositee, then I should be chayav on bechor and not putter. So we see what you're saying is not true. Tzon barzel doesn't. Let's read it inside. Says the Gemara, Lamema de Beshusa de Makabel Kaima. From the fact that he told me what that tzon barzel is also by a guy, and that's also with the Jew because it's ribis. You see what that the tzon barzel enters the hands of the depositee. Let me ask you a contradictory kasha. We learned in a Mishnah, Hamakabel tzon barzel and anachim. If a guy did tzon barzel from a guy, and they're gonna what? They're gonna split 50-50 in all the babies and all the profits. So what's gonna happen? Vlados, not okay. Every baby before is exempt. So you see what it's saying. If it's exempt, so then what it still belongs to the guy. It's not true that Tzon barzel enters the hands of the depositee and becomes subject to interest. It's not true. Amar Bai says, look, Kasha, don't worry. It's hard to makabel unsa rizola. Because that was a case where even though it was tzon barzel, it was a case where the guy still was willing to be responsible if the price went up and down. It wasn't 100%. It wasn't 100% tzon barzel. It was tzon barzel. Well, he's still responsible for the appreciation of depreciation. Okay, but hard to look. Couple later to Missoula. And in our mission, it's a case where the tzon barzel wasn't. Now, whoa! I have to explain to you what just happened. We asked Akasha and said the word tzon barzel by definition means what? That it would enter the hands of the depositee. You said, oh no, there's two kinds of tzon barzel. One tzon barzel is the one that you said. It's absolutely the guy has the original depositor has no responsibility. But there's a kind that's kind of 50. It's kind of a little yeah. He's kind of guaranteed, but not guaranteed. Part yes and part no. And that was so the case of the Bukhar was what where the guy held off to some responsibility. And our case of the mission where the depositor has no responsibility. He says, what? You just made up a new definition? You just made up a new definition? Amalei Rabbi, he says, what do you mean? He says, the Kabbalah, that's called Tzon barzel. You made it a new definition. You decided there's two kinds of Tzon barzel. Where'd you get that from? And number two, furthermore, even if I would let you say such an outrageous thing, that there are two kinds of Tzon barzel, he says, Adatani, if that's really true, Adatani Seifa, then how come in the end of the Mishnah, You told me I will come to Tzom Basil when I was to Chavim. You're allowed to do a Tzom Basil deal with a guy. According to you, since there are two types of Tzom Basil, you didn't have to go all the way down to a guy to have a case where Tzom Basil is mutter. Okay, liflo b'didei. Okay, what you really want, you should have already what you should have made a differentiation in the first case. Remember we learned about liflo listening. Remember this principle? It's like this. If in order to teach a law, you have to change the case, it means there was no such possibility in the first case. But according to you, there was a possibility of legally doing tzom bazel with a Jew. Why? Because there's two kinds of tzom bazel. Liflo b'didei, you should in its own, it should have divided it. When is it true the lo kabbalah lay onto the zola? When is it true that you can't do tzom barza with a Jew when the depositor had no responsibility for appreciation and devaluation? I will kabbalah mar onto the zola, but if he accepted at least some responsibility, okay, at least if it went up and down, even if he didn't accept responsibility for death, shop or dummy, then it would be fine. So so he gets a double barrel knockout. One, it's outrageous to redefine. You made up a new. You decided a term. It could be two types. I never heard number two. Even if you say such a thing is true, then it's against our Mishnah. Okay, Ella. Therefore, rather you have to say like this. You're right. We got a kasha. How come when it came to Chor, it really looks like Tzom Barzel becomes remains in the hands of the depositor, and in our Mishnah by Ribis, it looks like Tzom Barzel goes completely into the hands of the depositee. He said, you're right. In all cases, the original depositor took no responsibility. Onto his own. He took. Pardon me. I translated onto his own. I should have said accidents and devaluation. I said up and down. It said accidents and devaluation. I should have said. He says I should have said it all the time. The Gabi Bechoros Hanutam, the blood is true. The reason why it came to firstborn, the reason why the firstborn of this Jewish-Goyish partnership are exempt, it's not because the Goy owns them. You're right. Really, every Tzom Basil went completely into the hands of the depositee. And even by the Bechor case, the Tzom Basil went completely into the hands of whom? Of the Jew. That's true. So why are they partner? But Kaven the Elo Yoiv Zuzin. But since if the Jew will not give money, okay, that he originally guaranteed the sheep out, Ati nothing the guy has the right to come and grab the animal itself. If the animal's not there, so he can take the baby. The heavily yad nothing answer. It comes out that the guy still has his hand is in the middle. He still has power over the baby. The kol yad nothing answer. And we learn that what? That not only when the guy owns the bechor, but as long as he has any power over the bechor, even a lien, okay, a right to collect it, that's enough that it's not considered the bechor of a Jewish person and it's exempt. So really, we solved it. Really, tzom bazel by definition enters the hand of the depositee, and it's a complete anomaly. The reason why by the Jew guy Ista that the bechor is part of it, it's not because the animal didn't go into the hand of the Jew. It does. It belongs to the Jew. It belongs to the Jew. The deposit became completely alone, and it's completely in the hands of the Jew. The only thing is that there's a special rule by Bechor, that by Bechor, any power the guy has over the animal, like a lien, is enough to consider it not a Jewish Bechor, and it's exempt. Okay? Okay, and that is a good stopping place. Oh, no, it's not a good stopping place. Let's go one little further. No, it's not a good stopping place. A little further over. We're not late because we started much later. Okay, I'm almost done. Okay, now. I will tell you outside what happens if we didn't say, because otherwise it's a little hard to read. It gets a little rough. We're going to see that Shlomo Melech taught us in the pasuk that it's a bad thing to take interest in a guy. Now that's shocking, because as we'll see, everybody knows that the prohibition of interest is only what? Giving and taking is only by a Jew. So, but yet David Melech, Shlomo Melech tells me in Mishlei not to take interest in guy. It's a bad thing. So we're going to be shocked. Okay, so you have to reconcile. How could Shlomo Melech, even rabbinically, how could Shlomo Melech tell me that I shouldn't take interest in God? How can you tell me such a thing? Huh? Yeah, but that ribbis by a guy. We see Shlomo Melech does not take ribbis from a guy. That's the problem. Let's take a look. Okay, now we're going to quote a pasuk from Mishnah. It says, "Mar b'hona b'nefesh." Very interesting. Mar b'hona b'nefesh b'sabes. A person who increases his wealth with neshef, in Tarbis, two languages of ribbis, Lechonin dalim v'tzilin. You know who he thinks he's collecting that interest for himself. You know who he's collecting it for? He's collecting it for somebody who's nice to poor people. All his money's going to end up going to somebody who's nice to poor people. And listen to this. And my lechonin dalim. Listen, it's not just a Jew. Not he's collecting it for a Jew who's going to give it to poor people. Amravka going to show him up. A Persian king. No, a Persian king. Now what? He's collecting it from what? Well, a Goyish king who gives money to the Goyish poor. Who's that? All Goyim are considered poor in the respect that what? That they don't have the mitzvahs. He's talking about a Goyish king. You collect money, and what is that? Rav Nachman. So why was it about a Goy? Rav Nachman or Lehuna? Amar Lehuna, who told him, even the interest of a Goy. Not only if a Jew takes interest from a Jew, certainly he's collecting it for a person who's nice to the poor. No, even when he takes interest from a Goy, he's essentially collecting it on behalf of a Goy. He's going to lose his money. Eventually, he's going to go to a Goy. He's going to help out poor Goy. All right. So he says, 1 second. You want to tell me now? So according to that, Shlomo Mouth, the pasuk was teaching me what? You're not allowed to take money. You're not allowed to take interest from a Goy. ACB Rabbi Nachman. He said, what are you talking about? He says, Nachin Tasha. He says, it says clearly. Now, it looks like it says give interest to a guy. My tasha. You can't say give interest to a guy. Lav sishach doesn't mean what? Take interest from a guy. That's what it really means. No. He says tasha. It means, well, no, give interest to a guy. What do you mean? It says low. And therefore, it never said don't take interest from a guy. It never said take interest from a guy. It said give interest to a guy. So it's no contradiction. I low. Sagi lacha. What do you mean? When you give interest, what do you mean? I have to give interest to a guy? No, he says no. It means give interest to a guy is like it's by inference telling you that you're not allowed to give interest to a Jew. To the exclusion of your brother. No, yes, you're allowed to pay interest to a guy, but you're not allowed to pay interest to a Jew, your brother. No, you're not allowed to. What do you mean? I don't need. Why do I need the pasuk to tell me give interest to a guy to imply not to give interest to a Jew? The adjective it's written explicitly. It says you can't give interest to a Jew to your brother. He says, no, no, really, the verse means what? It says give interest to God and not to Jew. And when it says don't give interest to your brother, that means what? That's a negative precept. When it says give interest to God, implication, it's a positive precept. What? It's a positive, by saying give interest to God, so it's a positive precept to not give interest to a Jew. So if a person pays interest to a Jew, he transgresses a negative and he transgresses a positive. All right, now, ACB, 1 second. So now 1 second, we're in the hole. So now Shlomo Melech tell me what? That you should not take interest from a guy. It says ACB, it's the Tasha. What do you mean? You learned the Mishnah. What are you talking about? I mean, just say clearly. Lovi mayhem, umavinos agreements. You're allowed to borrow from Goyim with interest, and you're allowed to lend them money with interest. The Chem Beger Tosha, and the same rule applies even by what? Even by Ger Tosha. So how can Shlomo Melech tell me no? He says, he says, okay, when did it tell me what? That I'm allowed to take interest from Goyim? Okay, when the Mishnah tell me I let it feel good? The truth is what? That Shlomo Melech already told me what? He forbade me rabbinically to take interest from God. And when our Mishnah said that you're allowed to take interest and it's not even rabbinically forbidden, that's only for the minimum. For your bare household necessities, you're allowed to lend enough to make. You're allowed to lend a guard just to make you enough money for your bare necessities. Okay, a bed, a chair, your utensils. That's it. Your work tools. Your bare necessities, you're allowed to do it. That's one answer. Okay, but more than that, Shlomo Melech said you can't. So you can't make a business out of what? Out of lending money to guy. Okay, Ravina says no. He says really, everybody's forbidden to take interest in Graham, rabbinically, from Shlomo Melech. And over here, when our Mishnah said that you can, we're talking about only about the Milchah. Why? What was the whole reason of the original decree not to take, the rabbinic decree not to take interest in Graham? Shema Yomim Maisa. Maybe you'll learn from the way of the life. You're busy lending money to Graham. You have to go to them all the time. You're going to learn from the Goyish ways. It came to the Talmud Chacham, since it's Talmud Chacham, he won't learn. Then why can you borrow then? Because when you borrow money from a guy, you're running away from them all the time. You're not going to learn from them. If you borrow money from a guy, you always try to get away from him, not to have to pay. You don't want to see him. You're not going to learn from his way. When you lend money to a guy, you're running up to him, you're going to learn from his way. So therefore what? So we have two answers. One answer is why that anybody can lend money to lend money to take it for advice, but only enough to make enough to bear a living, or that nobody can. It sounds like nobody can, but only Thomas Hoffman can as much as he was. But some people are in combinations, and the follow today we have a different way. We'll get to the post game one day. We'll learn about it. A good chodesh to everyone. Have a wonderful day. Yeah. See, that's another reason not to let my anxious guys reach up. Velvet. Yeah. I know. God bless. Wonderful. The big question: why will I run late today? Today we